Hello, welcome back to Jorbs. Scribbles on the screen talks about every card in the Slay the Spire compendium. Today, I'm talking about Armaments. This is a common card for Ironclad. It gains you 5 block and it upgrades a card in your hand for the rest of combat. The upgrade here makes it upgrade all of the cards in your hand for the rest of combat. So, first up, this card is a very solid card to be picking up early in the run. It's very flexible. It has all sorts of modes to give you what you need on the turn that you're playing. You can get damage from it by upgrading an attack card in your hand if you need to upgrade an attack card in your hand to be able to spend enough energy on damage. Note that if you already have 3 energy of attacks in your hand, you might not actually benefit from upgrading one. You might just want to play 3 unupgraded ones. You can upgrade a defensive card in your deck to get more block. That can be a really nice mode because Ironclad's deck is very light on block early on, so playing an Armaments to upgrade a Defend and then playing the Defend Plus gives you 13 block, which is like very commonly going to give you an extra 3 health going through Act 1. It's quite often the case that you get attacked for more than 13 damage. It can give you more scaling, especially as you go later on in the run. You can upgrade a power that you're going to keep in play for the entire rest of the fight. You can upgrade a limit break so that you can play it multiple times for a boss fight. And sometimes in a boss fight like the champ fight, for example, you have a lot of control over your deck and can really pace the fight out. The champ doesn't start aggressively attacking you until he's below half health. And so you might be able to like remove a lot of cards with Burning Pact and then eventually use Armaments to upgrade your limit break and play your limit break multiple times and win easily. And that way you've saved yourself an upgrade on limit break, where the limit break upgrade doesn't usually do that much in like elite fights because they're over too fast, or hallway fights because they're over too fast. You might need it for a boss fight because you need to play it multiple times there, but Armaments saves you the upgrade and you can upgrade something else that's good in the hallway and elite fights for next act instead, or to get you to the boss fight by surviving Act 2 perhaps. It can also be used for meta scaling. You can upgrade Feed with this and it will give you +4 max HP instead of +3, and potentially that saves you an upgrade on Feed. So very flexible card, can do lots of things, and it has a decent output for a card in Act 1, which makes it a pretty good Act 1 pickup usually, I would say. That said, it's not a very useful upgrade. This is a mistake that I see a lot of players making, is prioritizing upgrading Armaments, and you just don't get that much of a payoff for doing it. I wrote 5 points for this. Number 1, the best upgrade in your hand is much better than the second best upgrade in your hand. So say you need more block this turn. If your hand is like Armaments, Flame Barrier, 3 other cards, well, you're going to play the Armaments and the Flame Barrier. It doesn't really matter if the other 3 cards upgrade. So you just play the Armaments, upgrade the Flame Barrier, play the Flame Barrier, there you go, you got your block. If you need more damage this turn, well, you're looking at your hand, it's like Bash plus Armaments and maybe 3 attacks. Sure, so you play the Bash Plus in one of the attacks, you don't even play Armaments in this situation. If the Bash isn't upgraded, maybe you want to Armaments the Bash. If you want to maybe think about with 4 energy, you're going to play the Bash Plus, perhaps you upgrade an attack if it's worth it, and then you play the upgraded attack, or perhaps you play 2 attacks. So in turns where you want defense, sometimes the Armaments upgrade can be okay, although generally upgrading a different defensive card at your campfire would have probably done more for this. If you think about turns where you need offense, often Armaments isn't the correct play, and even if it is, you're probably only going to need to upgrade 1 card in your hand to get good offense out of it, because you can upgrade some of the attacks in your deck, right? So one of the attacks that you draw is likely already upgraded, and then Armaments just has to upgrade one of the other ones. And if you think about turns where you want to like focus on scaling, maybe an upgraded Armaments does a little bit for you, but probably you have the Armaments in your hand and you like look at your scaling card and you go ahead and upgrade it and play it. No big deal. And there's a huge opportunity cost to upgrading an Armaments over upgrading another card at a campfire, right? So you could... Playing Bash is very important so that your strikes do well. And playing an upgraded Bash is much more valuable than playing an unupgraded Bash. You're going to far more reliably get an upgraded Bash if you just upgrade Bash at your campfire instead of upgrading Armaments and then hoping to draw up Armaments Plus and the Bash. And even if you do draw Armaments Plus and the Bash in Act 1, you play Armaments Plus, you upgrade the Bash, then you play the Bash Plus, you don't have any energy left. So the other 3 cards that you upgraded aren't doing anything right now on this turn. You're going to have to go all the way through your deck, shuffle it, and draw them again before this does anything, and then you're also going to want to you're going to need to want to play them, which you might not even necessarily want. Like, if you upgraded a couple of defends and a strike, well, the next time you draw those cards, it might be with a hand with a bash plus and a twin strike. And so you don't even want to play those cards. Upgrade density should often be quite high later on in runs. So this is especially true if you like pick up a toxic egg early. You'll have a lot of upgraded skills, but also generally you're going to be removing unupgraded strikes from your deck. You can like pick up a warped tongues or get the event which upgrades all of your strikes and defends. You're going to probably prioritize upgraded cards as you go through Act 2 and 3 over unupgraded cards, especially if the upgraded cards fit your deck about as well as the unupgraded cards do. And you're going to try to upgrade your important cards at campfires as you go through the run. So by the time that you get to like Act 3, most of the important cards in your deck are likely going to be upgraded, and quite a few of the other cards are going to be incidentally upgraded too. So unless you have a lot of card draw, you're going to probably draw lots of hands that only have one or two reasonable things to be playing Armaments on anyway, so the Armaments Plus doesn't do anything there. Note that the Armaments upgrade doesn't give you more block on the card, it just gives you more upgrades to other cards in your hand. 4, it takes a long time for extra upgrades to matter. If you upgrade a card but don't play it this turn, you have to discard it, then go all the way through your draw pile, shuffle your draw pile, draw it again, and want to play it before that upgrade does anything. And 5, there are better ways to scale in fights. So you might be thinking, well, if I just upgrade all my deck, that's really good scaling. But if you just like play a spot weakness, you get 3 strength. That's plus 3 damage to every single attack in your deck. Where Armaments, like, you played Armaments Plus and maybe upgraded 2 or 3 attacks in your deck, so they do slightly more damage. Cool, but you could have played unupgraded Armaments and upgraded one of them already. Maybe upgrade the one that's the Sword Boomerang, because it has good strength scaling. And you could play something like Spot Weakness and get plus 3 strength and be scaling all of your attacks at the same time instead. So it's just, it looks like it maybe is really cool scaling because upgraded cards are clearly better than unupgraded cards, right? And it's like the only way to upgrade a card in combat, probably, in the entire game, I think. I think that's probably true. But there are actually just better ways to scale than doing that. You can gain strength, you can put powers in play that give you like a card every time you exhaust a card or whatever. You can make all of your skills cost 0 with corruption. You can vulnerable enemies and weaken enemies, that sort of scales for you. You can remove their strength with Disarm. There are just tons of better ways to scale than Armaments Plus. So I think it's a great flexible card. You do not have to generally upgrade it. Moments where you might want to consider upgrading it, if you have a battle trance, if you have a deck which is playing a lot of its basic cards, so say you boss relic swap into a 4th energy early and you still have a ton of unupgraded strikes and defends in your deck and stuff like that, plus maybe a battle trance, now the Armaments upgrade starts to look pretty good. If you have a runic pyramid with multiple cards that you'd like to have upgraded, so commonly if you pick up runic pyramid, you're gonna like look pretty favorably at a flex because you just have 3 energy going through Act 2 and you need some 0-cost cards that have some impact to play. So you might take an unupgraded flex, might take a limit break, which needs to be upgraded to play multiple times, and things like that. If you're in that sort of situation, then yeah, grabbing an Armaments Plus in that situation could be really strong. But I would say typically it's not a very important upgrade. And that's basically where I'm at with Armaments. It's unusual for me to pick this card up later than the early parts of Act 2, I would say. But it is a cool, flexible card which does some exciting things even later on in the game sometimes.